It's all about creating conversations. Arrow.net, ARROE.net. We are unplugged and totally uncut with Roshani, Chokshi.
Hi, Arrow.
Good morning. There you are, that superstar that has put this entire book series together. And wow, here we are on this side of the journey. What has it been like?
It has been absolutely surreal. This story has just been in my heart for decades, and the fact that it's out there and now finally finished, it's just an incredibly humbling experience.
I love that you said that it took decades, and it's been inside of you this long, because a lot of writers think that they just got to pour their souls out immediately and just get it out of the system. No, it is a step-by-step process, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's like a slow fermentation, and you hope that you're making fine wine, but sometimes it's just not.
I was thinking more of kombucha, but okay, I'll take wine too. As that writer, how were you able to build this story and keep it a secret? Because if you tell me somebody's getting something for Christmas, I can't hold it in.
You know, it's so odd. I think that actually the way that I write is a process of reverse engineering. I'm so interested in how a character arrives at a certain way, so I always know the end. And then the discovery for me is figuring out how they got there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, you have become this master of young adult fiction to be able to get inside the mystery of it all. I mean, to a writer, it's a mystery as well, but now you've got to put it into words.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, sometimes I think that writing is more an act of transcribing something. These stories, you know, they take root and they take shape like in this dark abyss inside your skull. And then every now and then they sort of reveal how they want to be articulated. And that, I think, is really the heart of the process of writing.
Are the characters still walking with you like Russell Crowe in Beautiful Mind, or that story that he did about when people were walking beside him? Because I can't let go of the characters that I created when I was in the 11th grade.
Yes, I mean, I think they'll always be there. I think the most effective characters, in the sense of the ones that resonate the most with readers, are the ones who are like a piece of your soul, a shard of yourself given a whole new life. And that's why these things are able to resonate that much more with people. It feels personal. It feels emotionally urgent. So, of course, Aru and all those characters will always be with me.
Where along the line did you decide, all right, the lamp is cursed, now build the story?
Yeah, I think it was just my love of that kind of, if anything, if you consider the structure of the Aru Shah and the End of Time series, it's very much like any quest story. Here's the thing that you should not do. Well, now you broke the rule. Now you must go on this quest to go find 3 things or whatever. And it just goes to show there is no such thing as an original story. Everything is a retelling or a reimagining of something else. And that doesn't mean that it can't be fresh or exciting or invigorating for a reader.
One of the things that really inspires me about your writing, because I'm going to put it in modern day terms here, is that you deal with the possibility of it being the end of the world. I work with a senior in high school, and he said, "Now we're not even thinking about the end of the world." I'm going, whoa. I spent all of my senior year worrying about what was going on in Iran, and you're not. But I like the way that you deal with this, because you are up front with these young readers, young adult readers, saying, "Hey, look, pay attention to your own world."
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. You know, I think that one of the things that really inspired me with writing this series was the sense of nuance, and this idea that the universe never promised you fairness. Fair, as my dad always said, it's just a 4-letter word that starts with F, like anything else. And there's something about that gets really harrowing the older that you get. You start in these happy childhood systems, the structure of school, the love of your family, and then you're thrown out into the real world where everything is untethered and nothing makes sense. And that's where stories come into play. They remind you of something to believe in, something to anchor yourself to.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're very good at planting lessons and allowing them to grow inside the imaginations of a young adult reader.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
To put that out there, though, do you have to sit there and twirl your thumbs and go, Roshani?
I think for me, all the things that appear in my stories are things that I have grappled with myself. I mean, I really think that process of going from high school to college was kind of traumatic. It was just a lot of stuff that I wasn't prepared for, I didn't quite know how to deal with, and then graduating from college and being thrown, quote unquote, into the real world. Those were the moments where I really just shut up the rest of the universe and just returned to children's books and to young adult fiction, and they reminded me of those anchors that I so desperately needed.
Charlotte is one of the biggest places in the United States for Indian culture. I love the fact that this book is coming out with Indian culture. Not only that, but Hindu mythology. And I think that this book is going to be huge in this part of the country.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. That's something that was really just joyful to be able to share. We used to function with this idea that stories from different multicultural heritages or mythology would never be able to land with a wider, quote-unquote, Western audience. Mm-hmm. And yet, that's not the case. I think that this is the most joyous thing about writing for young audiences. They are just curious, and that is the thing that I want to help fan the flames of. I just want to be able to share the sort of vivid mythology and culture that I grew up with. The ethnicities of the characters in Aru Shah and the End of Time are just incidental. But if you have a heartbeat and if you like to laugh, I'm pretty sure you're going to find something to enjoy in the book.
Speaking of that laugh, comedians will sit there and they'll tell you it takes a lifetime to craft a joke. How do you know when to release your humor?
I think it's just a matter of delighting myself, right? I mean, that the process of writing is extremely isolating. I feel like I wake up, I change from my night pajamas to my day pajamas, and then allow my cat to harass me for 12 hours. There's a lot of time in which I have to amuse myself. And if I can't find anything to laugh at, I am convinced nobody else is going to laugh.
Now, somewhere in your chapters, there had to have been a teacher or somebody who inspired you to write, because I'll never forget Mrs. Keefe in the second grade who gave me projects to write about. She says, I don't want you to pay attention in class. I want you to write. Just write for me.
Yes. That was honestly my experience, too. It was my 8th grade English teacher, Mrs. Diana Kosick, who was just life-changing for me. She was the one who gave me a deep sense of confidence in my own imagination. Yep. Honestly, in 7th grade, I failed English, and so I've come a long way.
That's so funny that you say that about failing English, because I took a creative writing class in the 10th grade, and my teacher sat down with me saying, you don't know why you're even in this class, and I really don't want you to be here because you're not following the rules. And I said, because I want to be myself. Did you have to do that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much of this experience in getting to this point that requires just weathering tons upon tons of rejection. We joke a lot about it with other authors, but there's a certain degree of narcissism that's required for this job. You have to really believe that what you're writing is good enough that someone's going to want to pay through the nose for it or something like that. But that's the idea here, that you love it, that whether or not anybody else likes it, you are going to keep doing it. And that's the kind of just mental machete you have to carry around to just hack a place out here in publishing.
Oh, it was Gene Simmons that said, if you don't think it's the greatest thing on the planet, then how do you expect other people to believe in it?
That's exactly it. That's the energy to carry into the world.
And here I was going to say, your superpower is girl power. Now I see the other side of you. So, but what I don't understand, because I've never written a series, I've always been about books, and the thing is that what happens now? Because you've got to mourn the loss of your characters. I know they're inside your heart, but you're not going to write about them anymore.
I know, but I actually think a lot about Philip Pullman, who was one of my favorite authors, who wrote this beautiful trilogy called His Dark Materials. And when he talks about writing, he compares it to the idea of placing a camera. And for the past several years, I have positioned this camera of my mind just so. And now it's time to pivot from that attention. I've written so much about my father's heritage and that side of my life, with the exposure to Indian culture and Hindu mythology. But there is another part of me, too. My mother is from the Philippines, and she is also one of my greatest storytellers and biggest inspirations. And there is a lot to explore from the Philippines, of its folklore, its ghost stories, its pain. And so I think it's time for me just to switch the camera a little bit. So I'm saying goodbye to one thing, but it's really more just like stepping a little bit to the left.
Turning to my listeners, did you just hear what she said? She's writing the story of the family. She's keeping that history alive. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of Native American stories are not being told, and they're dying with the generations. And we need to start sharing the stories like you're talking about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially, there's a long tradition of that in the Philippines as well, this indigenous storytelling, inherited oral stories. Something that my siblings and I have been doing for the past couple of years is actually interviewing our family members, sitting our grandparents down and asking, like, what was your earliest childhood memory? Walk us through your life, and being able to record that and then just have it somewhere. That is priceless. That is the only treasure I think I would take with me.
I've been a daily writer for 28 years, but my biggest struggle right now is that what do I do with all this writing? If I were to pass today, would it be valuable to the family? And I hope to God the future reader will see something in it.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. When I think about the importance of art or the legacy or immortality of it, I always come back to the idea that F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby. I mean, this man died with a negative royalty statement and absolutely no interest in his work until it was revived 50 years later when people were curious about the lost generation. We cannot control how people receive our work. Right. All we can do is put it out there and know that eventually it will find its way. Wow. Hopefully we get to live to see it, but maybe we won't.
Yeah, well, you know what? It doesn't belong to us anyway. All we are is a vessel.
Exactly.
Roshani, you got to come back to this show, man. You are so fun.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've really had a blast.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you. You too.